Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm just an ordinary bike rider who received shipment of my Espin 21 Nero e-bike and was going to put that together for my wife. And over the last few weeks, I've been doing so. And I've compiled a video here that will hopefully help you in the process of getting some good instructions of how to put together your e-bike with ease. And hopefully this process that I take you through will be good. This is my first attempt to do a video such as this because I'm just a novice. I'm not a bike mechanic or anything like that, but I found the instructions that came with the manual and with the bike to be less than helpful. They're very basic instructions, and I thought this might be helpful for people to view. So hopefully you enjoy this journey as you go with me through the process of putting your bike together and powering it up for the first time. Hopefully it'll end up looking something like this when you're all done. After I took the bike out of the packing, I made sure to remove all the wrapping, packaging materials from the bike as best I could without scratching the frame, using a utility knife to carefully remove the tape and such. And I didn't find any damage to the bike as it arrived, which was great. And right away I got it set up here, as you can see, to do some work on the tires. I ended up being recommended to use the Tannus Armour for the interior of the bike tubes or tires, and that was recommended online, and so I ended up following that advice, since so many people are experiencing problems with running over road debris, thorns, other natural things that may cause a puncture to their tire. So you can see here that I ended up removing the tires right away from the bike. This is the front tire, and I followed the instructions that I found online to actually cut down, trim a little bit. I maybe trimmed like 3/4 of an inch off around the Tannus inserts that I put in, and I cut that all around on both sides so it would fit properly within the width of the tire. As you can see here, I ended up making my own little holder for the handlebars so that it would not damage the displays when you turn the bike upside down to work on removing the tires. I just found some scrap wood and made some notches in them to allow the handlebars to rest without actually allowing the components on the handlebar to hit the ground when you have it turned upside down. I did install a new seat for my wife, who's going to be riding this bike, so we installed that for her right away. Pretty simple to do. Hopefully you don't need too much instruction on how to install a new seat, but it was very easy to just use the enclosed Allen wrenches. I will say that the Allen wrenches included in the product itself that came with shipping, this little device is handy. It works fairly well, but you can't apply as much pressure to it, so I like to have my own Allen wrenches. I actually have an insert with a screwdriver here that rotates freely. That makes it a lot easier to twist in for your 0.5 inch Allen wrench. So I have some of those tools myself that I just have on hand that help make the process of putting the components together a lot easier. Once you remove the back tire, which is a pretty simple process, there is the release for the motor, the electrical drive shaft here. You can see that wire comes down from where the battery is, and that feeds into the actual tire itself. And when we go over here and look at the rear tire, you will see that cord that it was plugged into, and that drives the electric motor in the rear hub. Once this electrical wire was disconnected, and I took that apart, I just had to unscrew both sides of the rear nuts that were on both sides of the bike. And you'll notice that every time I undo a nut, I keep it kind of in close proximity to where it was. This was also on there before, on the axle beforehand, and it has a little nut screw that was on here as well. I just used a piece of electrical tape to keep those all together so I don't lose track of what came next in the sequence of where the bolt goes on and all onto the end of the axle. So that might be helpful as you're doing that. Over on the other side, it was just as simple as releasing the bolt again, and there is a washer on there as well. And again, once those were undone from the axle, pulled those off, and then your gear, your chain linkage and derailleurs and all, those are pretty easy to move around to make it so you can release the chain from the actual bike tire and axle. And once all that was done, I carefully removed the bike tire and was able to set it over here so I could work on putting the Tannus inserts into, and that worked really nice for me. These tires automatically come with a 26 by 4 inch tube inside of them, which once you put this insert inside the tube, kind of crunches down your space just a little bit. So you want to make sure that the tube has enough space to fill the entire tire inside. So Tannus recommends you actually go down in tube size to a 26 by like a 3.5 or 3.0 inch tube. I ended up purchasing the 26 by 3.0 tubes to put inside the tire. They have not arrived yet, but once those arrive, I'll get those inserted into the tire frames here and back onto the bike. Now that I have the Tannus Armour in the back tire and the front tire, I reinstalled the back tire exactly the way I took it off. And then for the front tire, you'll notice that to put that on, you'll need to first remove the small plastic piece out of the caliper for the hydraulic disc brake. Remove that piece and set that aside. And then I'm going to bring my tire over and make sure that you can see that the brake pad is on this side, or the brake is on that side. So I need to flip that around so it lines up with my caliper here. So I have the tire offset here with you'll see that the nuts on the end of the axle here, there's a washer. Put the washer on, put the nut on just a little bit, and leave a gap between the wheel and the washer on both sides of the tire. And then I'm going to lift up on my bike frame here and slide the wheel on back. And I'm going to make sure that the disc brake goes into the slot in the caliper. And then I'm going to line up the forks so they should slide down right on either side, which they have done. And I have the washer in there, the nut, and then the washer, and then the fork, and then the tire. And that should go in pretty easy. And my brake is lined up pretty good there too. And we'll tighten these down with your wrench. All right, once I'm done tightening things down, you can lift up your bike a little bit. And I'm getting a little bit of rub on the brake caliper, but the tire itself looks like it's spinning pretty evenly. So I'm going to have to adjust my brake calipers a little bit. Due to the disc of the brake actually rubbing against the caliper back here, against the pads, it was slowing the spinning of my front tire around to the point that we needed to adjust the back caliper here. So I'm going to come around here and show you how you can do that. We can use your handy tool again, just to go and unloosen your top Allen wrench screw here, and then there's one underneath right here at the bottom, and you can loosen those up just a little bit, and that'll allow the whole brake pad assembly here to move back and forth, and I'll show you how you can adjust that when I show you the back tire, how we adjust the brakes on the back tire. And once that's all set, obviously just screw them down with your Allen wrench and tighten those up once they are centered on the disc for your hydraulic brake. To adjust the back brakes in the pad to make sure that those line up between the disc and the caliper, again, we have some Allen nuts or screws here on both sides. This one's a little harder to get at because of the frame being in the way with the tool that was sent with the bike. So I prefer to use my own Allen wrench that you can see can easily get in there. The other one, you can't stand the wrench up in there because the frame gets in the way. So I would get to your own Allen wrench if you need to make any adjustments to the back brake disc and how it centers in the caliper. Also, a little trick of the trade too is as you're setting your brakes, if you loosen these nuts up a little bit and then on both ends, that way it can flex back and forth, and then come up to your rear brake handle and just press on that, and that will automatically center your brake pads right where they need to be on either side of the caliper. So you can kind of see down there a little bit that it's very well centered now, and I have tightened it down once they were in place. When mounting the front fender, make sure the little tab is in front of the front fork as you mount it onto the front of the bike over the front tire. When you're putting your fender, your front fender on the front of the bike, you will obviously, after you tighten your screw down here on the front fork, you'll want to adjust your support pieces that are coming down and running to the side of the bike. You will see that there's an Allen wrench screw here that goes through to a little nut. You can tighten that down, and the other handy tool they provide to you with the kit, you'll see right here at the top side there's a little piece that does fit for holding that nut, because you'll have a nut and then a washer and then the frame piece support here, and then your screw on the outside with the Allen wrench. So just use this piece to hold the nut in place, and use your Allen wrench, of course, to tighten that down. For this other piece right here that you'll see, there you have a smaller Allen wrench piece also that fits in there, and you can loosen or tighten that up. Right now it's loose, and the reason it's loose is so this can slide in and out of this extension here. The reason you want that to be sliding in and out is because you can see that you can raise or adjust how far your fender is close to your tire. You obviously do not want your tire rubbing against the fender piece. So once you find it in the right position, the right height where you feel comfortable with it being at, by sliding this in and out, go ahead and tighten her down by just using, again, your Allen wrench piece to just turn that until it's tight. And now it will not move, and I have it centered well. I already have the other side done, so it's all looking good and is quite supported there on the back of the fender. When mounting your front headlight, it'll come on this piece. The actual headlight will be mounted to this small piece. I ended up not moving or using that piece because if I mounted it here, it would have put the headlight too high and it would rub as you turn your wheel back and forth here. It would actually hit the top of the rack or the bottom of the rack there. So that's why I removed this piece. They did send, Espin sends along a little package with additional bars here, extension piece, and I went ahead and put that one on, and you can see how I did that. We have the fender mount here right on the front, followed by the extender piece, and then my nut here that's screwed in behind the front mount here. And once that headlight is on, it's just a Phillips head screw with a nut on the other side that you would just take it off this piece that was provided that it came on, and just remove that piece and stick it on the new piece here as well. Once that's done, there's a little extension cord wire here that just snaps right into this other part that comes right out of the stem. So you see that down in the stem that runs from the battery right up here, and you can plug that together, and it's very easy to do. And then right in the back of the light, there's a little flat piece receptacle for you to actually plug the wire into to give you power to your headlight. I will mention too at this point that when we put the headlight on, you'll notice that I put the headlight on the actual fender of the bike instead of mounting it to, there is a place where you can mount it to the front of the bike up here in this little hole. You can hang it down there. I prefer to have it on the fender because if it was up here, it would be stationary, always pointed frontward, because again, your handlebar moves, but the rack does not. And I like to have my bike light, actually, you can see it there. As you turn the wheel, the headlight will follow along with the direction the bike is traveling. So that's why I mounted it on the fender instead of up here on the rack. On the early stages of putting your bike together, one of the things you'll read in the instruction manual is to mount the front rack, which is not attached to the bike when it comes shipped to you. And very easy to do. You'll see I already have it set up. There's Allen wrench screws here on either side of the front stem of the bike, and right up there and down here. So 4 screws, and you'll just center your front mount onto the little bracket that's here on the front of the stem, and just line up the holes, and then go ahead and use your Allen wrench here to just tighten each of the bolts down. And you can do those, alternate back and forth between the 4 different screws, so you're getting it straight and level. Pretty simple to figure that out. One little tip that I tried to do is make sure that all my cords were packed behind the rack here. Obviously you don't want those cords running up and through the rack here because that will hinder with your turning of your front tire if the cords are through the rack, and also if you do want to place anything on your rack to tie it down, you don't want cords in the way rubbing up against whatever you have loaded on your front rack. So there are little Velcro straps here you can see that can bind your cords together. Those are very easy to undo, and when you get the cords to where you want them to be, just cinch them down with these little Velcro straps, and that kind of bundles everything nice and easy together. When installing your pedals on your bike at the beginning of the process of getting it all set up and ready to ride, pretty easy process. They do tell you in the instructions that they provide you a left or right pedal, and as you look at these pedals, you will, at least I haven't found, unless it's hidden somewhere, it doesn't show if it's a left or right pedal. So how do you determine which pedal goes on which side of the bike? And that's very easy to find by just looking at your pedals, and you'll see that the right one, so as I'm sitting on my seat, you will see that you'll be able to read the lingo here, so well go, on the bike pedal from a seated position. You'll be able to read that. So this would be for the right one. Obviously, if you turn it around and put it on the other side of the bike on that pedal, it would be backwards. So just make sure you can read that one, and that is the right pedal, and you'll see that it's both sides. It shows that. And in order to tighten those down, once you screw those on, the tool that you received in your toolkit with the bike, that wrench does fit. It has a slot on the end that does fit that, and you can easily tighten that down until it's tight onto the pedal frame here. I was getting a lot of play with the handlebar moving back and forth with the tire remaining straight. And so the way you can tighten that down is just to come to the stem here, and you see these two Allen wrench bolts here. You can just use your Allen wrench to tighten that down. Once you get the handlebars lined up with your tire so it's all straight and nice and even down the line for you. If you want to adjust how your handlebar is positioned on the front of the bike, right underneath you'll see this screw under here. I have an Allen wrench already in it, so I can show you how I did that, but you'll want to unloosen that, and then also on your side you have this with the arrows on either side. Again, the same Allen wrench will undo that one, loosen that one up, and now you can see that now that I have both of these lined up, you can raise, lower the handlebar, or at least push it in further. I'm going to adjust this so it's a lot closer to my wife. She rides the bike as her arms are shorter, and this is really a big bike for her. She's 5'5", and she doesn't have, her feet don't touch the ground when she's on the seat. So I might recommend this for people who are 5'6" or taller, but she's making it work. She really is enjoying the bike, but again, would suggest you're maybe taller than 5'5" to use this particular Nero bike. I'll tighten these down once I have it in position where I want it. Now that I move the handlebars in closer, you'll see that the handlebars themselves are pointed more down, so that's not a comfortable position to ride in. and the brakes end up, you're twisting your hand to try to use those. So make sure that you use your Allen wrench, the device that's been provided with you, and you can just unloosen all these different little Allen wrench things and twist everything to where you want them to be. And it's a very simple process, including the front here mount. You can also move that around and undo those and just switch everything around. You'll see I put on some additional devices here. I put a little mirror on the end. If you're wondering about the mirror, I ended up purchasing that online, and it just fits right in the end cap. You just pop this plastic piece out of there and insert the mirror in. I did add a bell. The bell did not come with the bike, so I added that, and also put an air pump and a water bottle holder on the frame here. There's a spot for that, so you can put those extra devices on. Accessories, also I did buy a softer seat. My wife likes to be more of a cruiser in her comfort style, so we got her a nice cushy seat. We really like the Schwinn bicycle seat, the cruiser seat for her bike, and so we put that on as well. I mentioned that we have a Schwinn super midway cruise bike seat on this particular bike because it's a lot more comfortable than the seat that's provided. But if you're wondering about how to get that seat to raise or lower, very again simple. It might be common knowledge to you, but just a very simple demonstration. Just unloosen the little tab here, and you'll see that your bike seat goes up and down. For my wife, as I mentioned, she's 5'5", and this is a pretty big bike for her, so she has the seat lowered all the way down. And if you unscrew it, you'll see that it's a lot easier to swing in and out and to close and to lock it in place. So if you want it a little bit tighter, just spin it around. So time to tighten, and it becomes a lot harder to push in, which means your bike seat isn't going to go anywhere. All right. As you begin to put your bike together, you might want to just go ahead and get your battery set up to get charged. You'll receive your power unit, the charger unit, and then also the battery, of course, which is here. And you'll see right here on the top part of the battery that there is a little plastic piece. When you reveal that, you can see once your charger is plugged in, go ahead and plug that in. If I can do it with one hand. All right, and you'll see that the battery pack turns red, meaning that it's charging. When the charge is all finished, it'll turn green, and you can unplug the charger cord from the battery. Okay, so my battery is all charged and ready to go. So I'll unplug it here, and then I'm ready to mount this back onto the bike. On the back here, it's pretty obvious that you'll want the top of the battery with the power on switch and the recharging port. It also has a key lock on the other side, and you'll just simply slide it in there, and then it should just slide down real nice and easy on the track, and that is on there tight. Now you'll want to grab the set of keys that also came with the bike, and this is how you just simply lock the bike or battery to the bike frame. So now it's on there, it won't come off. The bike is now put together, so I'm ready to turn it on for the first time. When you be ready to do that, just come over to your power switch and switch it to the on position, which is the flat line side as opposed to the O or the 0 on the side of the battery. Turn that on and then come on up to your display, and you'll see right off to the left is your power switch. So I'm going to press and hold the power switch until the display shows up. Right away it's set on 1, and if I carefully give it a little bit of throttle, whoa, it's going to take off. So if you want to go down to 0 where it won't take off on you, just press down on the minus sign, and I'll click that right now, and notice the gauge, it goes to 0. So we're all set to go there. Now you will notice that when you power on, doesn't mean that the front light comes on. The front light is actually not on right now. So to turn your front light on, and actually the back light, I'll show you that too. The back light is not on right now. And those are plugged into the battery as well. So on the power control, the plus button, if you just hold down the plus button, I'll show you here what happens on the screen. Notice the top left of the screen. Ready? I'm going to hold it down. And you see the little icon come up there for the headlight. And that was just simply by holding the plus sign down on your mode device here, just for a few quick seconds. And that'll turn your lights on. And you'll see that my back light is now on. And we'll go around to the front, and you will see that the front light is now shining brightly. Woohoo! Once again, when we turn the power on to our bike, press and hold, we'll see everything come up again on the display screen. Again, if we want to turn the front and rear light on, we'll press and hold the plus button, and we'll see that the light does turn on. I'm going to turn it off for right now, so it's just a matter of me pressing and holding, and the light turns off again, and that's again the plus button right here on the top left of the control pad. You'll notice pedal assist. Down here in the bottom of the display in the left corner is, right now when you turn it on, it automatically goes to setting 1 for pedal assist system. So pedal assist is what the battery gives you power to your pedals. So as you start to pedal, level 1 is going to give you a little boost of power to get you started, and you can ride in level 1 assist, and it really does well for you. And if you want to go a little bit faster, pedal a little bit faster, we'll talk about shifting as well in a second, but all we would do is to level up and give you a little more power boost is to come over here to your controller, and you'll see the plus and minus symbols here on the bike. Go ahead, and when I press the plus sign, notice the bottom left of your screen, how every time I press the plus sign, this number is going to go up. I press it once, it goes up to 2, press it again, level 3, level 4, and it goes all the way up to a level 5. Level 5, when you're going a pretty good clip and you want to go faster than your competition on their regular bikes, you can probably put it up to 5. I know that when my wife has been riding this bike for a couple of days here, she says she never really goes past 2 to keep up with me. And I'm on a regular road bike and on our trails around here, and she can keep up to me pretty good in just level 2. To get back down to level 2, oh, and I should mention that if you press the plus sign again, it doesn't go up at all. So you can only go down from level 5. So I'll press it, and you see I go back down to level 1 or level 2, depending on where you want to be. Obviously, we mentioned the throttle here too. The throttle can be used at any level to give you assist in pedaling. Now, there is one more setting for pedal assist, and that is to use your minus button to go down to level 0. And you'll see the 0 here in the bottom of the screen. The 0 means that the battery is not going to give you any assistance as you're pedaling. And you'll maybe use that if you want to give a little more exercise to things. But you will not be getting any battery assistance to that. You might want to start out if you're in a close quarters in your garage or something like that, where you keep your bike and you don't want to just automatically get a jump in power as you're motoring out. You may want to start it in 0. So that's how you set your pedal assist. Your bike is set up with 8 speeds, so 8 gears here, in order to increase or decrease the resistance of your pedaling. You won't see a major difference in pedaling as you're going along, no matter what speed you're on. Even if you do shift to a higher gear, you're going to get quite a bit of assist from your motor. So therefore, you will find that the shifting will not really increase. It won't be like a regular bike ride. I guess that's what I'm saying here. In order to shift to an easier level where you'll be pedaling faster, no matter what speed you're going, you would just press this front bar here down, and again it will increase 8 times or shift 8 times for 8 speeds here. To make it harder and more resistant on your pedaling, use this back button to just hit that lever, and you can change your shifting gears. You'll see that as I press those, that the rear derailleur is moving back and forth, and you can change your gears setting as you shift. For those of you interested in changing the power for your pedal assist, right now level 1 starts you out at 40% power from the battery to the motor. So it's a pretty good boost, and if you want to change any of the levels and the percentages of power that you're getting at your different levels, so level 1, 2, 3, all the way up to level 5, just remember that you can use your menu tool over here on the controller and your plus minus signs to change all this. And the way we're going to change our power assist to our pedals is by double tapping the menu button. And notice what happens to the screen when I do that. All right, I tapped it twice really quick. The first time I did it didn't go right away, so you have to hit it twice really quick, and you'll come to your menu page. This is page 1. We want to go all the way to the last page, so we're going to use our plus button here on the controller and watch the screen as I press each time. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 times, and I get to this screen that says AO5. Once I'm there, I'm going to hit the menu button, the M button here just below the power button, and that's going to take me to this page P5 with a degree or 0 sign up there. but you'll see a number flashing in the bottom. There's a 0 flashing at the bottom of the screen. This is going to be where we enter our code. And the way we enter our code is to come over to our plus button again, and we'll press the plus button once to get to the number 1. You'll see that change to number 1. We press the menu button to go to the next number spot, and we're going to change that from a 0 to an 8. And I'm using my plus sign to go all the way up to the number 8. What happens if you go to number 9 and you didn't mean to? Just use your minus sign to get back down to 8. Pretty simple. Once I'm done with entering the 8, press your menu button. You're going to the next button, or the next number, and that's the number 0, which you want to leave at 0. So press your menu button once again and go to your last number position, and we're going to enter the number 1. So if you're ahead of the game here, you know that you just press the plus button once and you're now at the number 1. Once that number is entered, so 1801 is your code, you can go back to the menu button and hit that again. And now we're going to want to go up to page A2. So we're going to use our plus button, press it once, and you'll be at page A2. Now here's a little tricky part, is you'll just hold down your plus and minus signs to get to where we need to be next on the menu. So once you're on page A2, go ahead and press the plus and minus sign together and watch what happens to the screen. Ready? 1, 2, 3. We now come to this big number 5, and you'll see blinking in the bottom of the screen the number 1, and this is the percentage of power. So this is level 1 pedal assist, and this is what your bike is automatically set at, 40% power. Now if I want to increase that so I take off faster, I use my plus button to increase that up in number just by clicking, but I don't want to do that. I want to start it off a little bit slower in level 1. So I'm going to use my minus button, and I'm just clicking on this, and I'm going to go down to 35% instead of the 40 that it was originally set at. Once I'm done entering the value that I think I want, go ahead and hit the menu button once again, and now you're on level pedal assist level 2, which is automatically set at 55%. I'm going to once again drop this by 5% power, so I'm going to use my minus button, and as I press it, you'll see I drop down to 50% power if that's where I want it to be. Press the menu button, and we're now at level 3 with 70% power. I'm going to drop that down to 65%. So if you're ahead of the ball game again, just use your minus sign to get you down to the 65% power, or increase it, whatever you want to do. Press your menu button, and you now moved on to level 4, which I'm just going to leave right where it's at. So I'm going to press my menu button again, move on to level 5, which is full power, the 99% of your battery power. So when you use your pedal assist, you'll be cruising along at full power to that. I'm done here, so I'm going to exit this by just hitting the menu button once more, and you see I return to the main screen. So there you have it. Hopefully that was informative for you. Again, I apologize if I wasn't very clear about some of my instructions here, but hopefully you picked up some little tricks of the trade as we went through the video and journeyed through that process of putting your bike together and getting it on the road. Happy trails. Enjoy your time with your new bike.